It's gone. It was a really good sermon. Parts of it. Any lecture? It's in the notes.
You will do it better.
Oh, yeah, I can say that. Yeah. Okay, so this is all about transfiguration today. That's what was happening to Moses when he went in and met with God, and his face was transfigured and he was glowing, and he no longer was who he had been before he was there with God in that private place. The deal with the veil. I read that and I'm going veil on, veil off, veil on, veil off. Does that remind you of something? Wax on, wax off. Yeah, you got it. She's back there going like this. But it was something ingrained in the people of Israel that the Holy of Holies, that God resided in the temple in Jerusalem behind a veil. And only the chief high priest could go behind that curtain. And only once a year on Yom Kippur did he go through that veil and be with the presence of God. So there we had Moses, who was in the presence of God, and what you did is you veiled yourself. And then you took it off to be with God and then put it back on so that the people that were with him would not be overwhelmed with godness that was part of who he was. Then in Corinthians there, or in Luke, we have God coming down out of the cloud and saying, "This is my beloved, this is my chosen, this is my son. Listen to him." Now, we changed the rules there, didn't we? God came out in the midst of all of the gathered there on the river, and, up there on the mountaintop, and made God's self seen by those people that were there. And Jesus was transfigured. Not only Jesus, but the people who were there were transfigured by that. And then in the Corinthians readings, they talk a lot about being unveiled and how that changes who we are and how we operate with stuff. And operate with those around us. And operate with God and ourselves. So as I was thinking about all of this, what I kept coming up with is this whole idea of transfiguration and what that means to who we are. And it reminded me of General Convention 2000. I know you walk around all the time and think of Episcopal General Conventions that come to your mind, and you say, "Oh wow, I'm just thinking about General Convention 2000. Well, I got tapped to be the coordinator of every volunteer that worked, all 1,200 of them at General Convention 2000, so I spent a lot of intimate moments there. And one of the things I got as a gift was this stole. And notice what it says on it. I don't know if you can see it at the very back, if your eyes are really, really good, but it says, read it, "Behold the face of God." And all of the people on here are people I know, or people who've been active in the Episcopal Church in Colorado, at least in 2000. And each one of them, they say, "Behold, this is the face of God." Well, they made a picture. And it says, "Behold, the face of God." And each one of those little squares is a person's face. Each one of those little squares is a person who is reflecting God to that community. Now, at the end of the service, we'll walk it over to the other room and you guys can look at it because it is quite spectacular. But again, it is "Behold the face of God." And that I was so taken with that phrase. And I sat with that, and what kept coming to mind was how I've seen that acted out in church communities and other places where not so much. Now I'm trying to remember what year it was, Art. 1962, when you first took me to an Episcopal church. Never been in one in my life. I'd grown up in the Disciples of Christ. Lame. They don't know the word liturgy. So it was a revelation to me. And since then, I've been part of or served in 20 different Episcopal churches. And what I reflected on was, how were they being the face of God in that community? And some did some stuff, and others did other things, and, you know, it was okay. And then I came to Sequim. And what I found was a community that was the face of God on Fifth Avenue here in Sequim. Right now, there's a container ship chugging its way across the Atlantic Ocean, filled with 83 of our personal care kits, plus thousands of others from other people who have donated them, but they're going to some refugee camp someplace in the Middle East. And we're caring for refugees because we're part of that face of God. We like to feed people. What more can we say? This is a community that eats. They eat a lot. But we also feed the community. We've been doing light lunch here since before my memory, and we've only been here 4.5 years. I don't know how many years you guys have been doing it, but a long time. Saturday, it's lunch at St. Luke's, and people come and they eat. And then we had Linda McKenzie and Joe from Port Townsend who said, I think we need to have soups on here. So now, every Wednesday, we have lunch for anybody who's hungry in the community. We feed those who need to be fed. We have our gatherings for the Sequim Food Bank. We do that every month. We have an inn. We had an inn at the Sequim Food Bank because Mark Ozias, Linda Peterson's son, was in chair, and he said, you guys make such a difference to us during the month with the stuff that you gather. You're one of our top providers for solid, foodstuffs as opposed to money. During the last year, we gave $1,500 to the Sequim Food Bank so that they could use it to making holiday baskets. We give $750 a year to support the total light lunch program. And we give $50 a month to Sequim Senior Care, who does other lunches here in Sequim for seniors. So not only do we like to eat as a community, but guess what? We like to help other people be fed also. We care. We care about other people. See these quilts? Those of you who are new, you've probably seen us have, 8, 10, 12, 14, maybe 20 quilts up here. Since they've been doing these, what's the number, Virginia? 1,140 quilts that people have been wrapped in, held by our love and our care and our prayers that we've tied into these. I'm sitting in one line and I'm going, where did I go from here? Say it again. Oh, we care about children. We don't have many children here. Let's look around. We have Sandy's kids who are here today, and thank you very much. Who else is back there? I don't know. I see two right here. Say it with me. We don't have a lot of kids here. It's who our community is. But that doesn't mean we don't care about children. We do care about children because we're doing our work that we do with the Boys and Girls Club. Our donation, we gave them $1,000 this year for scholarships for kids whose parents couldn't afford the tuition for them to do programs at the Boys and Girls Club. We do Christmas presents for those kids. We do the lunches in the summer out in the parks, and we go and we help kids who don't get regular meals have lunch every noon at a park there, and we're part of the serving that we do for that. We started a tutoring program. Mike Chesser moved here as a newcomer about 2 years ago, and said, I want to start a tutoring program. Okay, Mike, make it happen. And guess what? Mike made it happen. We had 1 full year of tutoring. The kids who came to those classes, their grade points went up 2 points. Kids who were making Fs started making Cs. Kids who were making Cs were making As by the time they finished that school year. It changed those children's lives. We just started a program now working with language arts this new school year. And again, we're seeing the successes of the kids who come to do that. We care about children. We care about veterans. How many of you know what stand down is? Or how many don't know what stand down is? Oh, 100%. We've been doing stand down ever since I got here, collecting items for stand down. And then we found out they lost the lease for their storage unit. And they gather stuff for the vets all year long. So we're now paying the rent for the storage unit for the Veterans Association that puts on the stand down. And then we got news that the transitional housing unit over in Forks had damaged their roof, and they had a nice grant to cover getting it fixed, but they didn't have the money to tear the old one off. So our last Sunday's, what do you call that, the 5th Sunday, Noisy Can, we're sending that money over to Forks with some money from the Outreach Committee for them to use for those roof repairs. This is a church that cares about healing, about touching people and caring for people. We have these candles over here. When I first came, I had no idea what these were all about. And each one of those that's lit is a prayer that someone gave for someone else. We have a beautiful wall hanging over there that is multiples of praying hands being raised. Don't know if you ever put those things together. That's why it's over there. We have prayers being offered here every Sunday and another Wednesday a month that we have prayers. We're a community that prays for each other and prays for people who aren't even part of our community. So we're a community of prayer. And what I felt as I reflected on all of this, I left out, I saw Sammy peeking. We also do a heck of a lot for the elderly. And that's our little star back there, Sammy Greenwood, who makes sure that we don't forget we're getting ready to send primroses to Avamere and Sequim Rehab. Patients get a potted primrose, a piece of spring that can sit on a table and remind them that they are loved. We give them gift baskets at Christmas, and we sign the Christmas cards. We do services at Sherwood. We do Eucharistic visitors. We care about the people who can't be with us on Sunday morning. I was part of an 800-member church in Colorado, and maybe one Eucharistic visitor basket would go out a month. Now, let's do the math, guys. You got 800 people, you have more than one person who's housebound. But it was not a priority in that suburban community, and we have made that a priority in our community. So what I see when I stand here is a remarkable group of people who've come together to be caring and loving and a blessing to this community. So I say to you, behold, you are